Good morning, everyone. Welcome to how to use your goddess energy to build an audience. So everybody just like come on in. We've got our first few people joining. Welcome Grace, welcome Sherilyn. Today we're going to be talking with Mina, who looks like she's here already. Welcome Mina. Using goddess energy to build an audience. I'm super excited about this conversation. I've been watching Mina's videos. Hi Mina, how you doing?
Hi, Peter. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. I'm super excited too. I was just about to say, I've been watching your videos now. I mean, I guess I started Thinkific, what, 2.5 years ago, and we probably met pretty early into my time there. And ever since, I've used you as an example of how to use authenticity to build a business in the creator economy and make a difference in people's lives doing it. So I'm like super excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much. And you and your team has been a big support in my life. We literally pray for you guys because, I've put all my eggs in your basket, literally, right? Like, you guys run our entire show. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a true honor. One of the when I was at the business before Thinkific and I started looking for my next job, I remember thinking or being very deliberate. I wanted to find a company that would teach me how to build a business capable of changing the world. And when I met Greg and Miranda, two of the founders here, I was like, oh, I think this is it. And then I started meeting people like you, and I was like, oh, this is definitely it. So yeah, I do feel blessed to be able to spend time together. So where are you today? It's beautiful. Is that your home?
Yes, I'm in Houston, Texas. This is our new home. I think you and I were exchanging emails when I was in the middle of the move. We moved homes and we upgraded in June of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. We're very happy here.
So we've got lots of people joining us. Today we're here to talk about using goddess energy to build an audience. And so if you're out there and you're building an audience on a subject, or you post to Instagram about, or YouTube or TikTok or email lists about something specific, we'd love to hear in the chat what it is that you're putting out into the world, what your purpose is, and what you're trying to accomplish with the audience you're building.
And I'd like to add that this actually, I know we're using the word goddess, but this actually applies to men as well.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, I was thinking about that as I was doing a live this morning. I don't know if you saw it, and I was thinking, like, I wonder well, maybe talk about that for a minute, about what goddess energy is, how it applies to the feminine and the masculine, or men and women.
Awesome. So in order to explain that, I know that the word goddess gets like, it's one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around and then we lose the original like depth of it. So to really explain it in depth, I'd like to zoom out for a little bit and share a story from my childhood. So I was actually born to immigrant parents. My parents were from Pakistan, which is a southeastern country, very traditional, gender roles and all of that jazz. And I was kind of born and raised here, but shuffled between the two cultures a lot. Mm-hmm. And I grew up hating my culture and just wanting to adapt the American culture. I felt like this is my culture. I belong here. Why are my parents like keep taking me back home and like teaching me all this alternative stuff? And so I learned a lot about that culture, but it was almost like from this like side eye, like I don't know. And so as I got older, I had a lot of the similar issues with relationships and things that you see here in the West. And through a really bad experience, I finally, like, it hit me that the answer to all of my problems were actually in my culture and integrating that back. And so I come from a culture that's huge on the principles of masculine and feminine energy. They're so integrated there. And, yin and yang, you guys, everyone hears about it now, but it's like really integrated there. And so I started going back to my roots and discovering my feminine side and my masculine side, and realizing that living in the West had put me in my overactive masculine. Mm-hmm. And as men and women, we all have both feminine and masculine energy within us. And it's God created this divine design where we have these fail-safe systems and we're whole units within us. But in a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business relationship, one person will be running in the masculine and one will be running in the feminine. And it's this beautiful dance that we play. In the West, what's happened is that most of us are running in our masculine energy all the time. And the feminine energy is sort of lost because it's an intangible aspect, and it's hard to explain even oftentimes. And we know it's missing, like we feel like something's missing, but we can't quite put our finger on it. And so when I started reintegrating the stuff, my entire life changed. I was able to attract divine union, what I call my partner in life, my husband. I was able to heal myself from autoimmune issues. I had RA. I was able to, get rid of toxic people, invite more high vibrational people into my life, create this amazing multiple 7-figure a year business, and helping thousands of women on the planet. And so this work actually applies to everyone, men and women. So when I say goddess energy, there's these 3 core energies in that I teach women, and one is mother energy, one is sex kitten energy, seductress, that kind of energy. Marilyn Monroe was really good at that one. And then there's goddess energy. So there are masculine reciprocals of that as well. And so when I say goddess, think of God energy within you, and this is the energy that's rooted in the divine. So that's the energy basically that anchors us with the superpowers or the divine, whatever you want to call it, the universe. We have multiple names for this power, source, all that is God. It roots us with God and then also roots us here on this planet. So we're no longer just animal working in our instincts, just on automation, just doing the thing of like going to work, coming back home on autopilot. We're also these conscious beings that are aware that there's more to life than just working hard and paying the bills, right?
Yeah, and having things.
And having things. And of course, that's nice because that we do have that animal side to us. But the goddess is the part, and the God is the part that's the spirit side of us.
It's so interesting to be here having this conversation, because over the past few years, growing up, I had very little spirituality. Like we grew up Catholic, and I had to go to church on Christmas, but my parents didn't really buy into it. And in fact, I'd say my dad even sort of like criticized it. And there's a lot of reasons to criticize the Catholic Church. And so I grew up like in this place where spirituality was sort of a taboo thing, or I don't know, we had to participate, but we didn't really participate.
Right.
But over the last couple of years, I started working with an executive coach who started introducing me to what I think will be called Eastern ideas, but more on like the Buddhist side, as opposed to like masculine and feminine hasn't come up very much in it. But a lot of it comes back to awareness and play and lack of attachment. And I found in my own life, it's amazing how different it is when I'm pursuing something that's big and scary and I feel attached to the outcome. Like I need it to happen, versus when I'm pursuing something big and scary and I'm not attached to the outcome. So I'm going to see what we can make work, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. The difference in those two things has been wild. And so I guess that's maybe like adjacent to what you were talking about, but I found in my own life, bringing awareness and some spiritual thinking has really benefited what a lot of Western people would measure, like benefited me in ways that lots of Western people would measure as good. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So in this example, the play would be the feminine, and then the letting go would be the masculine.
Interesting.
The consciousness. Yeah. So the feminine is the love, the light, the play. You can also think of the nature as feminine energy. It's very much doing its own thing. Think of like tsunamis and tornadoes and the ocean and the cosmos, like the intangible. That's the feminine. And then the masculine, it's very much the structure that holds it all together. So my favorite example to use is in a river, the actual flow of the water in the river is the feminine, and the river bed is the masculine. So without the masculine holding the container, There's no river, it's just a puddle of water.
Yeah.
So we need both of these, especially in building a business. This is so essential. I think many people forget this. Think of the starving artist. So what is the starving artist? It's the feminine with no masculine container.
Hmm.
Think of the infamous American corporation that like doesn't care about anyone. It's just out for itself. That's the masculine without the feminine.
Right.
So we need both of them to create the kind of businesses that you guys are helping so many people create. It's both the feminine and the masculine.
And so how does that show up in your business then? Just to like bring a bit of, like make it very real for people who are building an audience. I know that you and your husband work together really closely. So can you maybe just talk a little bit about how, I guess my first question was within you, I know that you balance both masculine and feminine deliberately or like with purpose. What does that look like? And then how does the dynamic between the two of you work out?
Awesome. Okay, so that's a good question. So in my business, let's just talk about the structural aspect. So in my business, I am the art, like what I'm teaching and what I'm like, my expertise is my art, right? So that's the feminine. I always am nervous about pronouncing your company's name because someone told me I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, and I've been super conscious about it since then. Thinkific?
Thinkific's perfect. Thinkific is perfect.
Thinkific is my masculine container. So what I mean by that is it's providing the structure. So if someone says, Mina, what's your website? Well, technically I don't have a website. I have a domain name that I've hacked into your website, like attached it. So you guys are my website. So I would say go to theuniverseguru.com. That's the masculine structure, right? So they go there and then they look at the courses, they can read the sales page, masculine structure. They pay through your website, through your processing system, masculine structure. So my job in the whole thing is to just show up and create art in my live streams, on my courses, and then you handle the masculine part for me. If it wasn't for you, and if I had to go and like send people actual links and collect payments and, you know, and tell them about every course myself, then as you can see that I would lose my femininity really quickly. My art would get lost in all of the daily hustle and bustle of actually, you know, providing these services. So in my business, I've outsourced that to you guys. So you're the container, you're the riverbed holding my art so that I can stay in my feminine. And it's like I say all of my problems are your problems now, right? Like I just like forward everything over, like here, deal with this, solve this. And so you hold that containment. I love the word container for this. You hold the container for the business. So in our marriage, the best way to look at it is that opposites attract, right? Opposite energies. The polarity is needed in every relationship. And this is true of same-sex relationships as well. In fact, they're often better at it because when you look at same-sex couples, you'll know immediately that one is feminine energy and one is masculine energy, primarily. Of course, they have both. And so in you know, relationships where it's one's a female, one's a male, this is often lost because we forget about the energetic part. So my husband he identifies as a masculine energy man. So that means that he's got about 70-80% masculine energy, and he's got the capacity for 20-30% feminine energy. I identify as a feminine energy essence woman, so I've got 70-80% feminine energy. Well, I used to have more masculine because I was very Americanized and very much in the Western world and hustle and all of that. But now back to myself, and then 20-30% of the masculine. So we're both whole beings coming together. And then in a relationship, we choose to let go of one pole to create that attraction, the plus and the minus of the magnetism, right? So he lets go of his feminine when he's with me and only brings his masculine in those moments where we want that polarity and attraction. And I let go of my masculine, and that's how that polarity is created. Now he's a Lean Six Sigma process improvement expert. So he is very good at looking at my business and saying, okay, I call him, he like 80-20s it really, really good. He'll notice things that I'm doing that are just a waste of energy and time. and it's just kind of like spinning wheels, and he'll say, okay, get rid of this, do this, and then he handles all of the accounting stuff that I don't like looking at numbers and all of that stuff. So between him and my oldest son also does a lot of the administrative work. He's 18, so he's like learning it through my business and then building his own as well. Between my son, my husband, and you guys, like, it's done. I don't have to bring the masculine as much in my business.
Oh, that's so interesting. I've never thought about, or I've never heard Thinkific described in that way, but it makes sense. The other thing that came up for me, this isn't really on the topic of business, but I'm trying to decide how deep to go into this. My parents got divorced when I was 7. And what that meant was, long story short, I spent a lot more time with my mom than I did with my dad. Mm-hmm. And lately, I think I've realized, like, maybe I didn't learn what it means to be masculine or a man in the way that allows me to show up in my relationships today, my primary relationship, in a way that I'd like to. And there's like, so I'm in this like conscious place where I'm trying to understand it more and just check in and be like, do I get this or do I not? Which is a bit of a vulnerable thing to share in front of 136 people, but that's my life. And when you said it's the masculine's job to like create a container, like we hear a lot about creating space. And so I suppose that's sort of the same concept. Is that right?
The container, okay, so let me step back a little bit and say that, by the way, thank you for sharing that. That's a very vulnerable share, and it's very real. It's a very real thing happening in the Western world right now where, you know, it's like we needed feminism to bring out women from, you know, unfairness and all the stuff that was going on. But I feel like the tables have turned, and we have this conversation quite a bit in my home. So we have 2 sons and a daughter, that it's now become sort of a hostile place to practice masculinity in the Western world, where we see words like toxic masculinity, you know, thrown around. We see movies and ads where men are shown as incapable, incompetent, idiots, you know, as bad fathers. You know, you see the commercials where the mom leaves the kids home at dad, and then she comes home and it's a mess, and now she needs this brand of you know, paper towels to clean it all up. We see this, and so it's subconsciously wiring us to think that masculinity is bad, and it's evil, and it's toxic, and it's something that we must contain and, you know, and strip out of our boys and men. And this is really, really an awful place in society to be, because without masculinity, there is no femininity. So what's happening now is that it's not a safe place for men to be masculine anymore. And so they're trying to, you know, figure out what their place is and what their role is. And then because polarity still must be created, so now women are stepping up as more of their masculine. So there's still masculine energy. It's this very wounded masculine energy because women are trying to practice it. So then we come in relationship and we're expecting our men to hold the container of the relationship and lead it forward and pop the question and, you know, and figure out the rules of our marriage and our structure and our household. But then we've also told them that all of those things are bad and controlling and toxic, and how dare you? Mm. And so of course there's so much confusion. And there is a lot, there's 2 generations, I feel like, of men right now that are men and boys right now that are just trying to find their place. And women need this desperately, but we also don't know what a healthy version of this looks like, because feminism has told us that we can't be controlled and we can't be contained. And it's bad for a man to tell us what to do, but that's exactly what we need in a healthy union. We need one person to set the container of the union so the other person can kind of flow and play. And sometimes, you know, it switches. So in a healthy union, I talk about that my husband and I are, you know, in our polarity, meaning I'm in my feminine and he's in his masculine, maybe about 30-40% of the time. And then there's moments in our marriage where it's kind of like Netflix and chill day. Maybe we both had a really hard week or whatever. And so we're like just ordering food, watch Netflix. We're both in our feminine right now. So that puts us in kind of like best friend mode. Like we're just hanging out. So that's probably about, you know, 20-30% of the relationship. And then there are going to be times where he needs to be in his feminine. Maybe he's got emotions coming up or things that he needs to just, say, and I need to be the witness, and I need to be in my masculine, and I need to be the one that can hold that container for him. And that's what it's going to look like in a healthy, modern day, balanced relationship. It's not so strict gender roles where, okay, so he can't have an emotional day, or he can't, have a feminine moment because, oh, well, he has to play this role. So it's not that strict, but it is this like dynamic that we get to play out. I know that was a long answer, but I hope that helps.
No, it does help. It's very real, and we're all on different journeys, and at different points in history, we're all gonna grow up with different influences, and so it's just our responsibility to realize what influences are on us now, and then change. So, yeah, it is helpful, and I do watch some of your videos and pick stuff up. So I appreciate what you're putting out into the world in this space.
Thank you.
So we've got a couple people in the chat that are asking questions. I might bring it back to building a business and how goddess energy and the masculine and feminine plays into that. Torres asked, what can we do if we have a small business and we don't have teams working for us?
So that's a great question. I have a very small team. I consider Thinkific my team, and then my husband and my oldest son, as I mentioned. And so I don't think a very large team is necessary. In fact, we purposely don't want a large team. That's why we chose Thinkific, so that we don't need a large team. Because I'm a mom of 3, I'm a wife. I want to just enjoy my life. I don't want to be managing people. Like, that's not my role. That's not my art. And so what I recommend is going with a company like Thinkific, first of all, so that they can handle a lot of the masculine stuff for you. So in my business, the masculine stuff is the YouTube handles the marketing side. I've never spent $1 on ads, and all of our sales come from, most of them right now, I would say probably like 99% come from YouTube. And then a very small percent comes from Instagram. So YouTube, they provide us this platform to post free videos. And so that's what I use. So that would be the masculine container. Thinkific does the course holding, the payment processing, the technical issues, the website, like you guys handle all of that. So find something like that, and then you won't need a team because you have a team, right? So Peter is a part of my team, Desiree, like I know Tola, Andrew, like I know people now that I just shoot out problems to, and then they just take care of them. So that would be my first number of advice. If you don't want a large team, hire these people and they will take care of it. I can't even believe what you guys charge. Like, I don't even understand your business model, honestly, because for the service that you provide and the price, like, it doesn't add up to me. But thank you so much. I'm very happy. So I'm glad. Since day one, November 17, 2017. Since day one, and not changing anytime soon. So it's staying this way. So that's what I would advise. And then you need to keep your energy focused on your art. That's the feminine. You're the talent part. That's you are the talent. You're the one that gets to bring the juice to the whole thing, right? So keep your energy focused on that. Also keep doing the process improvement stuff, the 80-20. It's very easy to have shiny object syndrome and see what everyone else is doing and want to do what everyone else is doing. But every time my husband sits down and does the numbers, he's like, if this 20% is where the 80% of the income is coming from, this is what you enjoy, stick with this, get rid of this, and this. So do that often. I would say maybe twice a year at least in your business. And get rid of the extra that's just spinning your wheels and it's not really helping or enjoyment for you.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I've built software companies my whole career, and I keep learning the lesson that we're not focused enough. It feels like every time we truly sit down and look at what we're building, and this is across 2 different companies in many different stages, it's just like we're not, when we actually get down to it, ask a bunch of difficult questions, if stuff isn't working, it's like, why isn't this working? It's like, because we're not focused enough over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue of our generation with all of these distractions. Cal Newport, the author of Deep Work and Digital Minimalism,
Mm.
he talks a lot about that. So he's definitely check him out if you haven't already. He's been a big influence on my life as well in just like, you know, he talks about how, you know, in a digital age where 12, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds can have social media accounts and be sharing information, what's really going to win at the end of the day is deep, focused work, like mastery, basically. And so that requires doing that 80-20 often and saying, where am I leaking energy? Where am I getting distracted? Where am I just spinning my wheels and being automated? And so, and then bringing it back to goddess energy, that's where that goddess energy comes in. And this is relevant to men and women. I started my YouTube channel doing hauls. I didn't say I'm going to start a business and then start a YouTube channel as most people do. I was, you know, I had just lost my mother, had my second son. I was kind of in a low depressive state and I had moved to a new state. So I was kind of isolated, lost my mom, just had a baby. And so I started my YouTube channel to meet other women. That was literally the goal, like meet other like-minded women. And so I started doing Victoria's Secret hauls and like MAC hauls, Louis Vuitton hauls. Those were things I was into back then. And so that's how my initial audience was built, is around this niche of shopping. So then when I launched a business years later, so YouTube channel starts in January 2011, business is launched in 2017, right? So years later, I had to realize that some people are going to get mad. Some people were mad because all of a sudden I'm not doing hauls. I'm talking about personal development and feminine energy and relationships and things. And that's where that goddess energy had to come in. That goddess energy is rooted in divinity, right? In God, and also planted on earth. And so I had to go back and say, what would the goddess version of me say? So goddess energy sees everyone as capable,
Mm-hmm.
as everyone having free will. And so I said, okay, so I don't have to cater to everyone. Everyone is capable of deciding whether they want to stay on the channel or leave. Everyone is capable of deciding if this content is worthy, you know, if this relates to them or not. And this really helped me because I didn't need to water down my message. I don't have to speak to everyone. I just have to speak to those people that really get my message and need what I'm saying. Like they prayed for me to show up, and then I showed up. And
Yeah.
some students that say that they were the first 10 subscribers that I had, or the first 15. So a lot of them stuck around, a lot of them left as well. And so as a business owner, if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're pretty much talking to no one. And what's going to happen is that you're going to have to keep watering down your message, because it was like when I would want to write a post or do a video, I would say, well, how can I make this relevant to the people that came from Louis Vuitton hauls? And how can I make it relevant to and no, I can't. I can't. So I just need to say what I need to say, and say it like as loud and clear from my heart. And then the right people will stay, the wrong people will fall away, and the right people will keep finding me. And I think that's an important thing to remember too, that you are not here for everyone. You're here for your people.
Which is such a good segue, because one of the things that I was thinking about as I was preparing for this conversation is, actually, before I go into that, I will do a bit of backstory. One of the beliefs that Thinkific has, that we've learned partially through people like spending time with you, Mina, specifically, is that those who are most authentic will succeed the most. I think there's a lot of like get rich quick on the internet out there, particularly. And one time I was having a conversation with a customer, and they said, I asked them why they chose us versus an alternative, and they said Thinkific is the platform for those who live to teach. Mm. And that stuck with me ever since. And then I met you around the same time, and I was like, oh, Mina lives to teach. And there's like an authenticity to what you put out into the world that I think comes from being like, well, I'm not going to do the Louis Vuitton posts anymore. Or maybe you will, but less often whenever you feel like it. But you've got like a purpose. You're going out into the world to create something specific and impact people's lives in a specific way, targeting a specific type of person. I'd love if you could talk, well, actually, so I'm, you know, but I don't know if everyone following knows that I'm currently on a journey to see if I can go reach 50,000 followers on Instagram. And I'm doing that because I'm trying to learn how to create a following on Instagram so I can teach others to do it. There are, I think probably across the United States and the world, hundreds of thousands of people who are trying to get businesses off the ground and rely on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube for leads. Mm-hmm. And many of them don't make it because they can't figure out how to build an audience. They can't figure out how to do what Mina has done. And so I'm trying to figure it out for myself so then I can go and teach others to do it, ultimately allowing them to reach their dreams, provide for their families, create the future that they want to create. And so, Mina, I'd love to hear a little bit about your early days. You talked a little bit about it a little bit there, but what was it like when you had 10 subscribers? And how did Goddess Energy, I don't know if you were deliberately in that space then, but how did it like contribute to like the very early days, going from 100 subscribers on YouTube to 1,000, something like that?
I think, I don't know how I'm going to be able to answer the question at that part of the journey, because remember that I was just looking for friends at that time. I was kind of in this like postpartum depression, lost my mom kind of vibe. So I wasn't thinking of building an audience. I wasn't thinking of earning money at that time. It was just about, oh my God, I have 2 friends. I have 2 internet friends now. And I would literally like, we would email each other and like, we would send each other gifts. Like that's how I started in 2011. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer that. I do have another story though, that like changed my life that I think will help a lot of people.
Okay, that's great.
I think on social media, we can get so stuck on numbers and like building a large audience. And that has not been my experience. My kids, even my children are like, you can't take likes and followers to the bank. Like they love, they know that these are not things you should be chasing. My kids aren't on social media, but they hear me saying these things to clients and things like that. So early on, this was not even early on, this was like 2015, I decided that I wanted to grow my channel bigger and that I wanted to do more helpful content. No business yet. This is it. I'm not even thinking business yet. This is like, you know what? I have a platform. I have people following me. And why am I doing hauls? Like, let me just do something useful, right? And so I got in a group. And these are like back in the day, there used to be these like little collaboration groups on YouTube. I don't know if people still do this, where 3 or 4 YouTubers would get together and they would do these collabs and so that they can grow bigger. And so that was my like change story. So I was in that time, I had about, I don't know, 9,000 followers on YouTube. So I had a fairly large audience, but I wasn't monetized. I was getting $50 a month on AdSense from YouTube. There was no business yet. And the other girls in a group, the other big YouTuber was 2,000 followers. And then there were a couple with 500 to 50 followers, right? I was the biggest one in the group.
Yeah.
And so we started doing these collaborations. There's this one woman in the group that had 500 followers. And sorry. Oh, okay.
Someone just walked in the door, but it's okay.
Oh, okay. So, there's this one girl in the group. I kind of like liked her personality, but I got the sense from her that she didn't like me. And I was just fascinated. She had 500 followers. I was fascinated with her personality. She had young kids. I had young kids. And so I tried to make friends with her, but she made it very clear that we're in this collaboration group to grow on YouTube and we're not going to be friends. And then I find out that she's making 6 figures a year from YouTube. And she's got 500 followers. I'm confused. Yeah. I'm so confused. I'm like telling everyone, I'm like, wait, what? I have like 9,000 at this time. I'm making $50 a month. She's making 6 figures a year. I'm super confused. And I'm asking around and no one knows why, right? I summoned up enough courage because she had made it clear that she didn't want to be friends. So I summoned all this energy and all of this courage and I sent her an email. Said hi, her name. Said, it's been lovely doing these collaborations with you. If you have a moment, I just want this one question for you. How are you earning this 6 figures a year? That's all I asked her. 2 days later, she shoots me back and I said, I have 8, 9,000. How come I'm only making $50 a month? And at that time, it was believed that if you share how much you're earning from AdSense, YouTube was going to ban your channel. I don't know if this is true, but I shared it with her because I was that like confused about it. So she called me back saying, "You're not selling anything. I have a course." And that was like the only thing she said. And then I started stalking her. I went to her website. I was like, what's a course, right? And so I check her website out. She's got this finance course for $400. So it's not like thousands of dollars. And it took me 2 years still to launch my first course, but that statement changed my life, because I was like, oh my God, it's not about the followers. She's actually helping people. So she was an accountant in her life, in her profession, and she knew how to create these spreadsheets and help people budget. Yeah. And so she actually created this product and was helping moms create a budget for themselves. And I was here, doing hauls and these kind of videos. I wasn't helping anyone. That changed my life. And to this day, in all of my business courses, I use this as an example. Don't get stuck on the numbers. I have had clients that I actually currently have 3 clients that have over 3 million followers on YouTube each. And they're making about 6 figures a year. Okay. And then I have clients with 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers that are making multiple 6 figures a month. It is not about the numbers. It is about bringing real value, being authentic, creating things you love to sell, just you love to sell them, and then sharing them with people. So I just want to say this because it's really easy I have gotten trapped in that too. I need more followers. Have you sold to all the followers that you currently have? The answer is no, you have not. Yeah. So sell to these people first, help them first, and then more is better. But if you haven't sold, I haven't sold to all 80, I have like 86,000 on my main channel. I haven't sold to 86,000 people yet. What's the point of bringing in more if I haven't even helped all these people yet?
That's such a great message. Because I set this 50,000 number, which is, the number doesn't really matter. It's like an orientation. It's like, that's the scale I'm shooting for. But so many people that I interact with are like stuck in inaction because they have 500 followers. But it is interesting, like if you made one sale to that 500 followers, the energy that would come from that, I imagine, would pour out through your content, and would just lead to more followers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not about the numbers. You have to keep this in perspective and then write this in your journal and then look at it often, because it is easy to get trapped in that. Another thing I would add to that is, when we have a great coffee shop that we tried out, or maybe a great yoga studio, or maybe you went to this fabulous restaurant, you'll call up your friend, you're going to be like, okay, drop everything. You have to go try out this coffee place or this restaurant, right? Trust me, you're just excited about it, right? But then when you come on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, you're like, you're talking about your thing. And then when it comes time to talk about the product, all of a sudden your energy goes all like, well, I have this thing that I'm selling, buy my course. Well, where's the excitement that you had when you were telling your friend about the restaurant? And so create things that you're actually passionate about and you love, and then tell them with the same enthusiasm as you would to your best friend, because that's how you would honestly, when I find something amazing, whether it's a new eyeliner or whatever, I want to tell everyone I'm excited about it. I want everyone to try it out, right? Yeah. But then when it comes time for you to talk about your products, all of a sudden your eyes are darting and you're sweating. And so I think that you have to look at your audience as an extension of your friendships. And these are relationships that you're building, and they're long-term relationships. And it's going to take the same effort, same honesty, same time commitment, energy that would take in a real relationship with your best friend, with your mother, with your sister, with your spouse, with your child. And we can't have this weird separation with real life and then business, and then we're really weird in our energy with the business because it's like really this weird thing that we go to sell stuff. If you
Yeah.
see that one thing is just an extension of you, it's an extension of your creativity, then it's not weird anymore, and you can just show up and sell to the 3 people following you. Because would you say if you found a best restaurant, a favorite restaurant, are you going to wait until you have 10 friends until you share it with your 3 friends that you have? Like, it just sounds ridiculous when you say it that way. So it's the
Totally.
same social media.
The other thing that comes up for me on that, have you heard there's a book called Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, I think. Priestley. But anyways, in it, he says that a relationship will move from acquaintance to friend after 7 hours of interaction in 4 different places across 11 instances. So in the real world, that might be somebody at work will become a friend if you also see them at a cycle class and you see them at your daughter's soccer game, and 7 hours go by and you see each other 11 different times. And then in the digital world, it's like they see you on YouTube, and then they see you on Instagram, and then they take your course, and then they receive emails from you. And if the like number of instances and hours of time that you spend together increases and is in those different places, then the relationship will progress, and they'll become a champion, or you'll have given them so much value, you'll help them change to the degree they want. And so they'll start telling their friends about it. And it strikes me now as you say this, that starting to sell early in the process of building an audience makes a lot of sense, because you'll spend more time with them through your course. Presumably it's adding value. And then they'll start telling their friends about it, and then that will grow your audience. So through selling, your audience will grow. And if you just wait until your audience grows, it'll take way longer to get there.
That's such a good point. I have not read that book, and that sounds very interesting. I have heard that it takes 7 interactions for someone to buy from you, which is interesting, and I can see that it makes sense. However, I've had people show up in online intensives and even in-person intensives that I've run where they said they found me yesterday. And so don't let it become a limiting belief. But yes, I exactly agree with your statement, because if you're waiting until a certain number, first of all, you're not building up the muscle of sharing about your products and services. And again, going back to the example, that's like me saying, I would tell my 3 friends about this amazing coffee shop, but I'm going to wait until I have 10 friends. Like, that just sounds kind of ridiculous. Like, if you genuinely want to help people and you're excited about the products you're building and creating, and you genuinely believe it will change your life and change their life, and you should believe that if that's the product that you're creating, then share it now. Why wait?
Totally. Well, I'll have to think about that. I don't have a product yet, but maybe I should create one on Thinkific.
Yes, you absolutely should. And you should now. And here's the thing, you can always add to it. You can always redo it. Like my first course that I ever created, it's still our #1 bestseller. It's called the Basic Babe Bundle now. It's been changed 3 times, where I redid it 3 times, and I've added content to it. I've removed content from it, and it's perfect now. And then I say that every year, and then next year I'll learn something new and say, oh, I gotta add this. And so think of everything as a work in progress. And so get something out there, and then you will learn by putting it out there, and by the feedback you get, okay, well, I could tweak this, I could do this better, I could add to this module, or remove this one, or add a workbook. And so get something there, because it's really about building that muscle, right? And practicing. That's like saying that I'll work out, after I've built the muscles already. But no, like, you have to work out now to build the muscle. And so I would definitely say start now.
Okay, I appreciate that encouragement. I'll have to think about what the first course should be on. Something around how to build an audience, certainly, but is there anything around goddess energy, specifically with respect to building an audience or an online business, that's really important that we haven't talked about yet?
That we haven't talked about. We touched a little bit about this, and I'm going to mention this again because I think this is probably the most important thing, is that if you're teaching from goddess energy or God energy, if you're identifying there, the most important thing is that expect some people not to like you, expect some people to unsubscribe, expect some people to be enraged. Those are not your people.
Yeah.
And then if you share from there, then you never have to water down your message, and you can share the entire truth of who you are, even if some people don't get it. Because the 20% that get it, those are your soul tribe people. Those are going to be the people that are commenting things like, I prayed and then you showed up in my life. I have people that say, do you have cameras in my brain? Like, I thought about this and then you posted video, right? Why? Because I'm just speaking my heart's truth. And however, what I say, I can't believe you watch my videos, but it's politically incorrect, right? On like next level. Because in today's society, you can't say men and women are different. You can't talk about a lot of these things without getting a whole bunch of backlash. But that's my truth, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And then the people that really resonate with that and are tired of the modern dating scene and modern relationships, they're like, oh my God, finally someone's speaking the truth. Now, there's other people that are not going to think that's the truth. They're going to be upset. But using goddess energy constantly reminds me that, hey, I'm in charge here, and the right people will love my message. In fact, they're praying for me right now to show up. And so that gives me that centering back to myself and my message, so that I don't have to water anything down. And that's really the key, because when you water down your message, people can't feel you. They can't hear you. They can't see who you are. They're not sure. They might still follow you, but they are not sure if you're for them, because you're like not sure. You're here, there. Sometimes you say a little something, but you delete it if it gets too much negative attention. No, you have to let that polarity exist and really speak your message and let them know what you stand for, what you don't stand for. And that's what people are looking for, is that real, authentic truth. And the wrong people will fall away. And we pray that they find the right people for them, because there's tribes everywhere. There's niches everywhere. There's the right people everywhere. And I might not be that person for them, but I'm not going to water down my message and try to be everything for everyone. That's impossible. I had a woman get mad 2 weeks ago. I got this nasty message because she had assumed that I was the same religion as her, and then she found out I was not. So like, I can't change my religion for you, woman. Like, so, you know, people will get mad sometimes because that's where they're at, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change my religion or the way that I look or my message. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that story is interesting. Even with like my 6-week journey or whatever, I'm receiving most notes are really positive and talking about how I'm already helping them build the businesses that they're trying to build or change their lives, which is so cool. But I also get some weird ones that are less than kind. And so I guess that's a good sign. If it, like those signals are actually signals that what we're putting out there is specific enough and authentic enough that some people will pose it.
Absolutely. And actually that's a really good sign, because when you post to your safe audience and only they're watching you, you're only going to get positive comments, and because only your people are watching. The minute that the Instagram algorithm or the YouTube algorithm starts pushing your content out to new people and new eyes, which is a good thing, we want them to do that, you're going to get people that accidentally get shown your content, and they're not going to be nice about it, right? Those are new people, but a lot of those people will end up becoming fans later. I also get comments on my YouTube channel where people write down, oh, I left a nasty comment 2 weeks ago and now I'm obsessed with your content and just bought my first course. So there's those people as well. We typically block if someone's racist or mean or whatever, because we want to keep our community clean. But sometimes we miss a few, and then it's interesting to see that they sometimes come around. But so when I have clients that, you know, are like, oh no, I'm getting my first few nasty comments, I'm like, good. That means that YouTube is pushing your content to new eyes and new people are seeing you. And so that you are going to get some of those as your content gets pushed to new people. Absolutely.
Another creator that I had a conversation with 2 weeks ago, his name's Tim Schmoyer, and he runs an agency that helps YouTubers build content.
I did some work with him early on in my work.
Cool. So Tim's also a Thinkific customer and someone that I've spent some time with. And one of the things he said is that your audience is only as strong as those you stand against, which is an interesting idea. And he says that in order to build an emotional connection with people, you actually need to stand against something and someone. And so I'm in the process of trying to figure out exactly what that is. For me, I think it's, I notice a lot of YouTubers, not YouTubers specifically, a lot of people and a lot of creators love to show pictures of them like in their Lamborghinis, on their private jet. Like there's all these, you're not really sure if that's really their car, they just rented it for the video.
Right.
And it doesn't feel authentic at all. And so there's like something there that I stand against. I know I haven't quite gotten to a place where I can articulate it, but it comes back to this idea. The reason why I relate to you so much is because I think authenticity is what truly builds connection. It becomes effortless. Like we can create effortlessly if we're authentic. And it just feels better. Like, is there anything you stand against?
So this is a very interesting topic that you bring up. And so I've studied at university evolution anthropology, and that's my background, communication, sociology, psychology. And I wholeheartedly agree with him that it's evolutionarily speaking, there is this us versus them phenomena that is the glue of a tribe. Unfortunately, in the wrong hands, it's very dangerous, because the us versus them phenomenon is the reason that we have things like genocide and all of the nasty things on this planet that have occurred. Because when you can create that distance between, separate people, you see the next level of that is like making them less than. The level after that is making them inhumane, almost as if they're not even human. And then the levels after that, you already know how that ends. We have history to show that. So I have been very careful on my channel, and I've actually talked about this in my courses, why I purposely don't do us versus them. I'm very careful around it. So I have these 4 stages that I teach. My audience is primarily women. We now get comments from men saying that my content is changing their life, but my courses initially were just created for women. And so my son is going to be the masculine male hype, like kind of a spin off of my channel, and he's working on that right now.
Cool.
I have these 4 stages of evolution: basic babe, self-aware Barbie, $1 million babe, and high-end divinity. And how I've created the us versus them is that us versus them is us versus the lower self of our journey. Instead of saying that we're against anything, and sometimes I talk about the harms that feminism has caused against, men and women in our society, but at the same time saying, but it was necessary, because at that time we needed it. So I tend to be a little bit more careful about that. I could probably have had millions of subscribers if I had just said men are bad and women are good, or I could have done that. I know how to do it exactly. I learned this at university. It's part of my training. I chose not to. And so in my work, the them is our lower self. It's the part of us that we've evolved away from. And we might have moments when we go back into that, but we come back into our higher self. So I totally see the relevance of it. And I think some people are geniuses at creating it. There's a part of me that fears it, though.
Yeah. What comes up for me is like, it's okay to stand against something or someone, but it's not okay to not respect them or like honor their truth, their beliefs. Like it's okay for them to be them.
Yes.
But it's also okay for me to disagree with them or choose to, not join them, I suppose.
Exactly.
And there's actually, this is a very Canadian idea, but we talk about like being strong in our diversity. Thinkific is really strong in its diversity. We focus on making sure that the team we build is diverse, and we think that we're not all the same. We're not all the same in the sense that we don't come from the same places, we don't have the same backgrounds, the same religions, or the same sexual orientations, but there's a lot of strength that comes in that diversity. That's not the same thing as standing against, though. Clearly, I haven't figured this out quite.
It's a work in progress for all of us. So, like, for example, I teach the harm of 50-50 relationships, meaning going 50-50 in things, because it creates this transaction, which is not how the male and female brain is wired, masculine polarity, feminine polarity, right? But I also say, but people that choose that, that's what they choose, and that's okay. So I do tend to be more careful about that. Not from the prospect of like watering down my message, but I don't want a community where there's a them and then we're against it. I think there is a respectful way of doing it. I'm sure lots of creators are doing it. I just feel like the them in my life is my lower self. That's the one that I'm constantly fighting, right? That's the actual war, is the one within us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a beautiful thought. We've only got a few minutes left, so I just want to point out to anybody who's here that doesn't yet follow Mina, like I really recommend you do. I watch Mina's videos all the time and take away, in every one I watch, I take away something to just like tweak my life a little bit. So Mina, thank you so much for putting it out there. And you can find Mina on YouTube at The Universe Guru or Million Dollar Babes. Is that right?
Yes, I've got 2 YouTube channels. Million Dollar Babe, Universe Guru is my main channel, the one I've had since 2011. And that's where I do the masculine, feminine, polarity, all of that stuff, the relationship stuff and inner work. Million Dollar Babes is my newer channel. I've only had it for a year, and it's a spin-off, and I do more business and money content and lifestyle content on that one. So I talk about, there's videos on there right now talking about feminine and masculine polarity when it relates to money and business.
I like that. I'll go and find those ones next. And then if you're interested in building an audience, so if you're somebody who's out there that has a small business or has dreams of building a business or a movement of any type, and you want to build an audience on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, right now I'm focused most on Instagram, follow Impossible Creator, my account, because I'll be doing more interviews like the one that did with Mina today. Every week we'll be doing another one with a creator that's building a business in the creator economy, using their audience to generate leads in business.
Thank you so much for having me, and definitely go ahead and follow Peter. He is a key member of my team, and I'm loving seeing all the clips that you're posting and all of the little interviews and things, so definitely follow him.
I appreciate that, Mina, and we met each other through Thinkific. Mina's, as Mina said, we're essentially part of her team at this point, but she uses Thinkific to host her online courses and sell them. And I'm responsible for the team that builds a major component of that work. And so that's how we met. She is my mom. Is that actually your daughter here, Mina?